fact been a very big development when we talk about the e-commerce space. In fact, the last 10 days, Pankaj, look what all has been happening. First, there was the angel tax controversy. Now you've had the rules being changed to create a level playing field according to the government, and one that has the e-commerce companies up in arms, changing inventory rules, ownerships of the back end, including warehouses, etc. And now the food inspector has jumped on the bandwagon, talking about how there can be simply no compromise on food safety. So this is going to impact the likes of Kroger, Zomato, Swiggy, all of that being impacted, where you have the FSSAI tweaking the safety norms to step up the scrutiny of delivery companies and e-commerce food companies. Food products will be liable to sampling at any point. They will provide indicative image of food on platforms. But the fact is, Pankaj, if you go overseas, go to America, for example, you don't see a photograph for every dish. You don't have the food inspector inspecting the delivery companies. They actually go to the kitchens and make sure, are they rodent-free, are they following the right hygiene, etc. But the FSSAI seems to have different plans. And, once again, like in the case of Flipkart, for example, which has received foreign funding, $16 billion from Walmart, all of these companies from Kroger, Swiggy, have all got foreign funding. So once again, we talk about ease of doing business. We want to attract FDI, but it seems as if the government is talking a different language. Shukla, the Executive Director at Nielsen, now joining us. Samir, we had e-commerce doing so well at the start of the year. You had a $16 billion deal between Flipkart and Walmart. Look at what happened, for example, with Swiggy as well. You got a couple of unicorns from that space coming in. Then all of it changed the last 10 days, whether it was angel tax or the attempt to create a new level playing field with rewriting the marketplace, and now the FSSAI with these new demands. Would you say they are reasonable? I would imagine like in the West, maybe the Indian regulators should concentrate more on the kitchens, at the hygiene levels of the kitchens, and not maybe the delivery companies.
Yeah, so while you're talking about the new guidelines from the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, you're right. I mean, e-commerce is one of the most dynamic channels in the country, in this market in India. So if you see from the technology enablement part and what's the kind of good things that the e-commerce channel is bringing in or has potential to bring into the market here, there's no parallel. But what the policy that is coming up will definitely be giving a blow on various efforts that the e-commerce industry was trying to do in terms of backward integration, whether it was in terms of having better inventory management systems or having the right kind of, supply chain management. So that will definitely undergo certain changes. And I'm sure, while it's too early, but various industries will start reacting to the norms. And while we have got about, 60 days, not 60 days, probably only a month, because 1st February is what the DIPP is asking for, rolling it over. So it's interesting to see as to how does it build up in the next 30 days.
Okay, so while we wait for those 30 days, once again, I want to understand from you this last mile connectivity that the FSSAI is talking about. How reasonable is it? Yes, after the entire unfortunate incident of Maggie and what Nestle had to go through, you have seen food packaging companies, for example, become more conscious of the FSSAI labeling. But, they don't really go into restaurants. And what are we really talking about? We can go get chaat, we can go to get street food. There's no guidelines for those vendors.
You're right. So if you see in terms of the distribution reach and the kind of facilitation that the e-commerce players can bring into the marketplace is phenomenal. So, and we have seen some very early signs. While if you see in terms of the mobile handset industry, where the discounting and the cashback has actually gone quite against a lot of mom and pop and the traditional channels that we have seen in the last 1 or 2 years. But even if you see for a larger reach industry like FMCG, where the last mile connectivity is a big challenge for most of the manufacturers and distributors. E-commerce is already showing early sign of creating that vacuum bridged up. And that's a big area that we all were keenly observing. Now, with some of these, changes or maybe regulations coming in, the investment patterns and the attractiveness of these channels may undergo some change. So that's why I said it's going to be interesting to see. But I'm sure the department will be, having right rationale to create the balance between the different channels that we have in the country, and at the same time ensure that technology enablement keeps on fueling right kind of growth to the industry in general.
Samir, these companies over a period of last 7, 8 years, 10 years have created, a platform which they have right now. And now it's undergoing a change. Do you think the companies will again have to morph their strategy, will have to morph the way they are marketing their products to, come and, adjust with these new changes?
Yeah, so of course, that's where the agility, and that's where the new channel has shown a lot of agility in different markets beyond India also. So while on one side, when it comes to discounting or cashback and maybe somewhere that was not very regulated, so there definitely needs to be some mechanism to ensure that various stakeholders have got right level playing field, and it becomes a long-term, beneficial story for the entire market across all different stakeholders. But at the same time, some of the norms around limited exclusivity on platform, or maybe even prohibiting e-commerce players to start dealing in sellers where the investments have gone in. So the last one will definitely have some major impact if the policy goes in the same format in terms of what would have been the investment and investment plan of some of these big e-commerce players.
Right, and what does this mean actually for funding, because probably this was the area where, Swiggy raised funds, the Scootsie raised funds, you had Zomato always, where investors were ready. This would also slow down the liquidity for this sector?
Yeah, I see. There was a news piece which came up only yesterday where we saw that the FDI in India has surpassed China for the first time in 2018. So now that was one wave that we were riding at. But as I said, the players in the e-commerce industry will also be showing a lot of agility, and some of the plans on investment and other, structure of business would also may need some bit of tweaking there.
Right, Samir. Thanks so much for explaining us about what's happening in the e-commerce space. Yesterday, of course, it was different news, and today, when we talk about the news flow, it's about changes to the food space that we are talking about, food e-commerce space, that is.